And welcome to another episode of With Enough Prep Time. I'm your host, the Nerd Man. Today we're going to be talking about Superman. And the new episode, basically, the pilot episode of Superman and Lois. Now, I'm going to spoil the shit out of this bitch, and I can't rap. I actually can rap. I'm a pretty damn good rapper, but I can't freestyle. But so just a brief synopsis of what happened in this pilot episode. I was actually really excited to see this. I don't know, like full disclosure. I'm a huge Superman fan. I love Superman so much. I've even written stories, scripts, fan fiction, whatever you want to call it, about Superman. I use it. I sometimes use like writing comic book stories as like practice for screenwriting. It's stupid. I should just do the actual script. But right now I'm working on my own script. It's going slowly. My old brain isn't what it used to be, but well, that's why like I just know Superman in and out. So like front ways and backwards. So they always say write what you know. So I know fucking Superman. So I've been I always feel like when I'm watching a Superman show, it's like watching a child or something, because when you actually try to write like a proper Superman story, you really get under the skin of the Man of Steel as such. But anyway, that's just a little intro. But so I watched this pilot, and I was really super excited for it. And so the premise of the show, I'm not very good at giving like brief synopsis, but the premise of the show is Superman and Lois return to like their idyllic Smallville. And then they're met by, a mysterious stranger. Now, in terms of the actual premise of the show, this show is one that kind of decides that instead of going back to the origin of Superman, they skip over that origin pretty quickly and, go straight to kind of the meat of, they even skip over the usual, Clark Kent moves to Metropolis, and and the love story between Lois and Clark, and they go straight into, Lois and Clark have been together a while. Lois is now the world's most famous, essentially, journalist, and Clark Kent is, he's good as well. As a journalist, but the internet age has kind of led to more subscriber-based journalism for the big newspapers, and therefore, Clark Kent is kind of an anachronism in a sense, and journalism, the typical journalist is kind of an anachronistic. So only the strongest, best, most named, journalist can survive, which is Lois Lane. She's like a big name journalist. But anyway, so Superman has been Superman for a while. He's been saving the world. He's a well-known hero, and essentially. Yeah, essentially, they have a family, 2 sons, right? And that's where we kind of start off. It's these, them as a family living in Metropolis. Clark Kent has, actually having a little bit of trouble in terms of keeping his job, and he loses his job. And then he has 2 sons. One son is quite hopeful and optimistic, and he's like a typical popular jock, and the other son who's suffering from certain emotional problems. And that's where we are with the show. Now, I want to say a lot of good things about this show because I really like it. My worry about the show, and I'd love to see what what people's reception are of the show is that I think there are two types of Superman stories right now. And these two types of stories need to learn. These two types of stories there needs to be a reckoning between the two. One type of story I feel is a Superman story that only appeals to Superman fans, that only appeals to somebody already invested in the Superman character. And then there's one Superman story that sees Superman as boring and a character that needs to be fixed and modernized, and therefore ends up with him being all edgy and a bit of an anti-hero rather than a noble, heroic kind of figure. And I think the two sides either take it too far in one direction or too far in the other direction. Now, I'm much more into the stuff that only Superman fans would like. But I really want this character to pop again. I think he's such an important character. And I don't think he needs fixing. I just think he needs updating in a way that kind of makes sense for our generation. And that's where I come to this show. I don't know if this is that. I think this is more a show that if you are a Superman fan, if you're a comic book fan, that you'll like this show. You know, you might even like it if you're like somebody who's, like a kind of family show that you can kind of watch together. But all in all, I find it a little bit too hokey in places. But again, I really love it, but I'm worried I love it because I'm a Superman fan. That was my feeling. Like, if I wasn't a Superman fan, what would I, in fact, be interested in this show at all? Now, I want to talk about the cast and the plot and everything that happened in this episode. The cast. Now, I'm going to start with Lois Lane. Bitsy Tulloch plays Lois Lane. Now, I'm not gonna lie. She's not my favorite Lois Lane that I've ever seen. She's okay. She's quite good. I really wish they'd get back Terry Hatcher. Terry Hatcher was my favorite Lois Lane, and it's not just because she was good looking, but she had a spunkiness to her. She had a moxie to her that I only think Terry Hatcher and of course the great Margot Kidder have really kind of captured. And this one she's fine. I'm sure maybe she can improve, but all in all, I think she did a fine job. She won't to me go down as the definitive Lois Lane, though, just from what I've seen so far. But that being said, I think her storyline is really good, and I like where she's at in this show, of her being at the place where she is the world's most famous reporter. And she's just a woman who, is trying to say to, Superman, now he has this family, that he does have this responsibility to the world, but he has to find a way of being able to look after his family who desperately need him as well. And that takes us on to the two sons. One, Jordan, played by Alexander Garfin, and two, Jordan Elsas, played by John Kent. Now, these two take up like a lot of what the heart of the story is, and it's really a father-son and family kind of based show. And I think these two characters, hopefully, if as they develop, are going to be the point of view characters where you can bring in young people, teenagers, to wanting to watch this show as they go through puberty, but obviously with this Kryptonian heritage. Now, it seems from the first episode, what it looks like is one of them, Alexander Garfin, who I think is not a very good actor, to be fair, he basically is the more depressed emo kid. And he's in love actually with Lana Lang's daughter. Yeah, he's in love with Lana Lang's daughter, Sarah. And basically, what happens is you start off with them in Metropolis, and he's not functioning well at school, this kid. And then, unfortunately, it's a really great scene when Clark finds out that, in fact, Martha Kent has actually passed away, and he has to go back to the farm again. And he takes his whole family. They go to the funeral, and they find that there's problems with the Kent farm. Like Martha's taken a loan off the Kent farm and that kind of thing. And then you go into the story of the Clark's more emo son. Finding a new friend in this Sarah Lang, who's Lana Lang's daughter. Lana Lang, the famous superhero character who was Clark Kent's first girlfriend. And so essentially they develop this relationship, and it's through her and through some circumstances that happen in the show that he discovers, that there's something a little bit weird about the Kent farm, and there's something a little bit weird about his father. Then there's Jordan Elsas, who plays Jonathan Kent, right? And Jonathan Kent, basically after the Pa Kent. Jonathan Kent is much more upbeat, and he's more of a popular jock kid. He's a football player, that kind of thing. And essentially, you get the feeling that he might be really his father's son and have these, and be developing his superpowers. He's precocious as a football player. So it seems that he has physical talents beyond the ken of mortal men, or so it seems. And he and his brother, are slowly, when they come back to the farm, they're trying to discover why, Clark Kent never wanted them in the barn, and they discover the aforementioned spaceship that Clark arrived in. And that's the kind of meat of this story. And then it's them kind of coming to terms with realizing their father is actually Superman and what that actually means for them. And that's it. That's the story. It's kind of like a family story set around, those players. And I have to say, I liked Jordan, who played John Kent, the popular kid, a lot more than Jordan, who plays the whiny kid. I see. I just called him whiny, so you can see my opinion of him. I don't think he did particularly well in terms of the acting department. He seemed most like a CW actor, and that's another thing about this show, which I should mention, is that it's a CW show. So they always start off really good. I liked Supergirl when it started. I liked Flash when it started. I kind of even liked Green Arrow when it started. But it's always by like maybe the third episode, it's just like, this is garbage. This is garbage. So I hope this one's, because the quality was quite high here for a TV show, and I hope it maintains that, because usually they just fall off a fucking cliff with the CW. So I'm being, kind of realistically optimistic about this show. But one thing we need to talk about is both the action and Kal-El Clark Kent himself, Tyler Hoechlin. Now, I've gone back and forth on Tyler Hoechlin in terms of his interpretation of Superman. I saw him in Supergirl, the first episode I saw him in. I thought, wow, this guy is fantastic. He looks a bit like Count Dracula. I don't know why they saw Superman in him, but when he smiles, he seems a lot more friendly. And it's good that they're moving away from this chiseled, perfect looking Clark Kent, which I've always thought Clark Kent doesn't have to be like super incredibly handsome. He just needs to be a normal, quite good looking guy, but nothing that women will go necessarily gaga over, because he has to be the Clark Kent, the side of him that is a little bit of he's awkward. He's not somebody who isn't he's got an awkwardness about himself in the world. So he's not exactly, the big alpha male kind of person. He becomes the alpha male when he rips off and becomes Superman, or he becomes the big Boy Scout when he does that. But on the Clark, he's a bit more mousy, or as they used to say, the mild-mannered Clark Kent. So I've gone back and forth with him, and in this episode, it strikes me that he could have been a definitive Superman. This guy, this is another problem I have with the show. Superman is too big for a fucking little TV show. You want to see Superman use his fucking powers, right? And you want to see big action spectacle set pieces of him saving people. This is the fireman of superheroes, and you want to see a big spectacle of him saving someone, and you want to see him fight like a cool bad guy. And it's just like, when you've got a TV budget with Superman, it's just kind of annoying. I feel like this guy, I would give him a chance to do a proper Superman movie from the beginning, from when he meets Lois. Skip maybe a little bit of the origin thing, get to when he's in Metropolis, and he can discover his heritage throughout the series, and move into becoming like where he has the family and he has something to live for and stuff like that. But yeah, Tyler Hoechlin is hella good when he's good, but when he gets shit scripts, I guess he doesn't do it for me. Like when they're trying to say like, he's not as good and they fixed his fucking suit for this show as well. He looks much better, the suit, than he did in the Supergirl, but he was just weak in Supergirl. He was like, Supergirl's stronger than him, and and Supergirl's the real hero, and all of this kind of nonsense. And I was just like, dude, I liked you at first, but nah. But what I'll say about Tyler Hoechlin is he's got a really good modern version of Clark Kent. I like his Clark Kent a lot. His Clark Kent never goes over into some kind of slapstick level of being physically challenged in terms of he trips up and does all that. He never goes into that kind of way out there level, but he's enough that it pays homage to that kind of Christopher Reeve style of Clark Kent, which I like a lot. He's a very modern version of that, where it's not like crazy. You can believe somebody would trip up the way he trips up. It's not like some cartoonish thing, but at the same time, he's paying homage to that kind of more physically challenged act that Clark Kent puts on. That Superman puts on when he's being Clark Kent. So I think Tyler Hoechlin is the best thing about this show. He's great. He needs to tighten up on some of those emotional scenes, and and I know Superman smiles a lot, but he does need to know when not to smile as well. Sometimes it's too much of the smiling. That's my only critique of him. It's like, apart from that, I want to see Superman smile sometimes at those right heroic moments and stuff like that. But sometimes, it's not always necessary. It can be over the top, because when you smile so much, it's like, is this guy human or is he some weird thing? The other big surprise about this show, which I'm sure is going to get a lot of people rattled, is they have apparently a new Lex Luthor who travels from an alternate reality or another planet. Sorry, this is a big spoiler. And we know this because he's a black guy. And I've never thought Lex Luthor has to be white. I don't think there's anything that says that he must be a white person. So I'm looking forward to see a black guy take on that role and see what he does with it. I'm sure he could. I'm sure he can knock it out of the park and be one of the best Lex Luthors ever. Again, Lex Luthor's race does not really define him. If it was a character whose race defines them, like you can't decouple. There's nothing that changes about Lex Luthor when you make him black, and there are some things that actually improve because, again, somebody who's worked that hard and become a self-made man because of his genius and working hard and entrepreneurship, who's confronted with this alien. Is more likely to even be more pissed off by this alien who has all this power that he wants if he comes from a situation where he can identify with powerlessness. So I think that kind of actually really works. So that is my if you want a grade of what I would give this, I would give this a solid B. A solid B, a high B, coming close to a B plus, but not quite a B plus. And only because I think they've set up a scenario that I think is going to be pleasant enough for Superman fans, but I'm not sure that it's going to win over any new people. What I want is a Superman in movies, preferably, that bridges the gap between those who are like Man of Steel fans and think that's the way to go with Superman, and those who are classical Superman fans and think that's the way. We need a Superman that really bridges that gap between the two of those camps and shows Superman can really work in the modern age as a kind of cool hero, just like Captain America, for instance. And I don't know that this is it. I think this is a nice show. It's fun for TV, at least from this episode, and if the quality remains the same. But it's not going to win over anybody who thinks Superman is a boring character, unfortunately. That's how I feel about it. But yeah, tell me, what do you think of this episode? What were your thoughts? Did you like it? How would you rank Tyler Hoechlin in terms of on-screen Supermans? And what do you think of Lois? What do you think of the new Lois? But yeah, that's my thoughts on it. I like the show because I'm a Superman fan, and if you're a Superman fan, you'll like the show. If you think Superman's boring as shit, you might like the show, you might not. I'm not sure, but it depends. But apart from that, thank you so much for listening, for hanging out with me. Please give me a high five, smash that like button if you enjoy my content. Please subscribe and also comment. I love the comments, and that's the tea. So see you on the flip side. Love you 3000.